Hi everybody, and welcome to Project Servotopia. My name's Eric, and today I'm going to walk you through a little mashup vignette that we've been putting together as part of a larger Lego mock build. So let's get started, shall we? Now this vignette build gets its start in a Lego set that we got Mac one year for Christmas. It is the Snow Trooper Battle Pack, set number 8084, released in late 2009, early 2010. It includes an AT-AT driver, an Imperial officer, 2 snow troopers, a little battle station, and a speeder bike. Now, if you're like me, you're probably asking yourself, but why is there a speeder bike in there? The Empire didn't use them on Hoth. They used those big walkers, the big AT-AT walkers, and the little AT-ST chicken walkers that were running around beside them. The first time that we actually saw speeder bikes was on Endor during Return of the Jedi a few years later. But in the end, we're just kind of like, heck with it. He's 8 years old. He don't know. He don't care. So fast forward to earlier this year when we were working on our build for Brick Fair. Now it's called Outpost Echo Madri, and it's a prefabricated Imperial Rapid Deployment Station. Now don't worry, we'll have another video dedicated entirely to this build in the near future, so I won't bore you with too many details here. But anyway, we were bouncing ideas off of each other when one of us had the idea of,
you know, that white speeder bike might make a cool police bike.
After a quick head swap to put a biker scout head on a motorcycle cop's body, I dug into my bags of spare bricks to add some appropriate police type accoutrements. I'll be honest, the first attempt was nothing really special. You might could have realized it was a police bike, but it really wasn't as obvious as I'd like it to be. So I tore it down and started over. Now the second attempt was a lot better. Now it did add a lot of bulk to the speeder bike design, but there was absolutely no mistaking what it was anymore. It was definitely a police bike. Now, it was about this time that I showed this to my friends in the local LEGO users group, and someone called it, quote, the Coruscant Highway Patrol, or CHIPS, after the old TV series. That would be these guys. Not those guys. Definitely not those guys. At any rate, I thought it was a hilarious name for it, and it has stuck ever since. So I knew I needed some decals for this, and I drew some up in Inkscape, which is a free alternative to Adobe Illustrator. Now, as far as water slide decal paper, now you can get sheets of it at craft stores such as Hobby Lobby, and you can run them through your inkjet printer. But as the sheets are not exactly cheap, I decided to first print them out on regular paper and try like a test fitting. It took a little bit of work, but I managed to get a good result with the water slide decals. And of course, I couldn't resist sneaking in a CHIPS Easter egg. That number you see between the flashing lights, that is B600, which is Officer Frank Poncherello's badge number in the TV show. So who knows, maybe this is Ponch in a galaxy far, far away. And of course, no self-respecting police officer is going to go out on patrol without his book of speeding tickets. It's rather hard to read, but I don't think anybody's going to have any trouble figuring out what this is when the vignette's finished. Now that we've got a speeder bike cop, we need some speeders for him to pull over. Now, I originally took the Naboo flash speeder and added a luggage carrier on the back, but I really wasn't satisfied with it because, well, it's a little bit too big and it blends in way too well with the ground. Fortunately, I saw where Walmart had an exclusive Loops land speeder set in stock, so I snatched one up and put it together as a test. Now, it's not a bad little set, but to be honest, I'm not really that wild about the Tusken Raider's gaffy stick, and the side engines could really use to be more firmly attached to the body. Once I had it assembled, however, I felt good about my choice. It shows up really well, and it's not as wide as the Naboo flash speeder. Now, there's still some modification work to be done on this, but already I'm finding out it's definitely a better option overall. Now, we also knew we wanted to work in the LGMs from Toy Story somewhere in the build. We wound up with 4 of them from the Disney minifigure blind packs, and we incorporated them into the Outpost Echo Madre build for Brick Fair. Now, people loved seeing them in the build, but very few people were actually caught on to the idea that they were being busted for taking a speeder out for a joyride. So we decided that, hey, the LGMs will be in the speeder that Officer Punch pulls over. But there's one tiny problem. The LGM minifigures have the short leg pieces that can't bend. So that means they can't sit down in the speeder, and they just don't look right when you try to have them standing up in the seats. It's just not safe, Now, fortunately for us, we have a local Lego store, and even more fortunately, they had blue legs as part of their, quote, build your own minifigure sales display. And they are a near perfect match for the blue and the LGM uniforms. But as you've probably already noticed, there's another slight difference. The LGMs also have little black shoes on their tiny little unbendable legs. So we're gonna have to improvise here. Now, I replicated the black shoes on the new legs by taking a Sharpie and going over the feet. Now, I had originally tried wrapping tape around the legs to keep them from getting any black on them, but the ink wound up seeping in underneath the tape anyway, so I just wound up having to be very careful and use a fine point marker on the tops of the feet. I also did the underside of the feet just in case you could see them when everything's assembled. Now, overall, I think they turned out fairly well. Of course, when you put them together like this, it looks like they're headed to a father-son dinner or something, but when all 4 of them have their new legs, just like Lieutenant Dan, they got new legs, and are sitting next to each other in the speeder, well, it shouldn't be easy to tell they've been modified at first glance. Now, speaking of the speeder, we stretched out the chassis just enough to accommodate a back seat so that all 4 LGMs can ride at once, and they don't have to hang on for dear life on the back of the land speeder like R2 and 3PO did. Yes, that's much better. I tell you though, maybe it was just me, but at this point the speeder started to look a little bit, well, underpowered. Now, maybe the luggage carrier was visually too large, or maybe the side engines just weren't big enough, but it just didn't look like it was capable of going fast enough to be pulled over. Now, unless you want to count those tiny little speed trap towns that you pass through on your way to the beach, that doesn't matter because, they're speed trap towns. But anyway, for me, there really just wasn't any other option. It wasn't looking right, so it was time to make another trip to Walmart's Lego aisle. I admit I was a little hesitant at first to pony up for a second land speeder set, but the engines and the stickers, well, they were pretty much worth it by themselves. And I got a lot of good other bits as well. And while I was at it, I couldn't resist adding some engine parts sticking up out of the hood, kind of like a chrome-capped 4-barrel carburetor sticking up out of the hood of a vintage muscle car hot rod. Now they look like they could actually exceed the speed limit. Ha ha! Now, I did use the sticker sheets from both the sets, but I also wanted to add some character, no pun intended, well, maybe a little bit, to the luggage carrier. And since I wanted these decals to have some texture of their own, so they looked like they were something that was actually attached to it rather than painted on it, I printed these out on a sheet of Avery shipping labels rather than going with more water slide decals. Now, since this vignette is mainly a mashup of Toy Story and Star Wars, we figured it was only appropriate that the LGMs would be on their way to Disney World. Now, it's kind of an inside joke because not only does Disney own both Pixar and Lucasfilm, but Disney's Hollywood Studios is currently constructing themed lands for both franchises. Now, Toy Story Land is set to open sometime next year, in 2018, but Star Wars Land won't be open until sometime in 2019. I wound up printing off more stickers than I actually used, mainly because, well, it was starting to look a little bit too crowded back there. We may eventually find places to stick the other ones on, or we may use it for something else entirely, I don't know. But at least for the moment, I think it looks pretty good. Now, the luggage carrier is based on a real-life Sears model, the X-Cargo. My ex-father-in-law had one just like it, and we'd use it. We'd strap it down to the top of his van when we were going to go to Disney World together. But I thought rather than putting the actual Sears logo on it, let's subtly tie in another Pixar movie by putting in By and Large instead. Who knows? Maybe they had Put On Your Sunday Clothes blaring on the radio when they got pulled over. I don't know. And with the stickers applied and the LGMs all comfortably seated in their hot rod speeder, we are done with building the vignette and we are ready to put it in the finished build. Now, as you can see here, the driver is on the right-hand side, just like Luke was. You got the navigator riding shotgun with the map, and one of the backseat passengers is enjoying a cold Duff beer in full violation of the open container laws. I'm not sure that Officer Punch has enough tickets to cover everything on here. And that's going to do it for this vignette build. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like, and be sure to subscribe to the Project Servotopia channel on YouTube to get notifications on future uploads. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have an awesome day.